Yep. Live and direct. What is going on, everybody? This is Stats Over Politics, episode 18. We're back at it again. This is your host for the show, replacing Shaun. Man, it's a hard job to fill, but I'm gonna try to do my best. It's Kevin Dent sitting here with my man Jaevon Toddy. We're missing our two guys today. Gary had to pick up a shift at work, and Shaun has some family matters that he had to attend to. But let's get into it, Toddy. How you doing today, man?
Oh, man, a lot of things going on. First and foremost, wishing well for Shaun. Everything's good with him. But a lot of stuff has kind of just transpired over the course of, in the span of, the last time since we talked. So can't wait to really get into everything. Kevin thinks that the Eagles are able to just sign whatever free agent there is possible. So, there was news that came out today that the Niners have adjusted their cap space. And we have the third highest cap space in the NFL. So free agency can come quick enough. So we'll see who's going to be able to get these free agents.
Well, man, for everyone listening, for all the audio listeners out here, I don't know if you guys can't see, but I got my Duke jersey. I had to walk my Kyrie Irving Duke jersey. Had to let Toddy know, man, with the Duke swept the Tar Heels this season. So, like the Niners went down, we're going to have to pour one up for my audio listeners, man. You guys can't see this, but I'm pouring up a bottle, man. We're going to toast it to the number one team in the nation, preseason team in the nation, went to the national championship, returned to everybody, and got swept.
Yeah, it's not looking good for us this year.
No, it is not. But without further ado, man, let's get into the first topic of the show. Toddy, I got to ask you a question. Where does DeMarcus Cousins rank all time as a Sacramento King?
Well, we were kind of talking about this in our group chat. So Shaun kind of brought it along, and he was saying that he was arguing with a bunch of guys, in their, were a little bit older than us, 30 to 40-year-old range. And he was saying that, they're not respecting Boogie, this, that, and the third. I think Boogie, just as a Sacramento King, his tenure there, he was probably the best that he ever was. If you were to go back just and look at all his numbers, it was just that I think DeMarcus spelled has an E in it. I just think that DeMarcus Cousins was definitely, for sure, like one of the top Kings to ever play. I think if you just look at just numbers wise, as far as bigs go, I'd say talent wise, Chris Webber is probably up there. Vlade Divac, obviously. A lot of guys remember Brad Miller. But I think DeMarcus Cousins is probably the most talented out of all of those. And Chris Webber would probably be 1A. They would probably Chris Webber and DeMarcus Cousins would probably be 1A, 1B. But you just look at those numbers of, nights where he's putting up 50 points and 25 rebounds, and he's going off on the guy and saying, I don't know if you guys are realizing this, but it's getting ridiculous. So, I think he was the last King before, Fox and Sabonis went on their all-star tear this year to be an all-star. So I just think DeMarcus Cousins kind of came. It kind of sucks to see that he wasn't able to, break the streak of him being able to get to the playoffs. But I think just the revolving door that Kings head coaches that it was whenever DeMarcus was there, from just who was there? Mike Malone. I thought he was the best when DeMarcus Cousins was there. It was Mike Malone. We saw George Karl. He hated George Karl's freaking guts. And I forget the guy who came from Memphis. I forget what his name is. It was like I forgot what his name was. But Jaeger. That was the coach. So just those guys that kind of just, when you don't have any stability, it's kind of hard. And then, there was an owner change too. from just going, from the Maloofs, and then Vivek kind of taking over, and then, new GM ownership or front office, and Vlade, and just things were a lot of things were changing around him. And, it was kind of hard for him just to focus on basketball. Now, a lot of guys are going to say that, Boogie was a guy that, he whines too much. He's a crybaby. He was the best big man in the league. He was literally the best center in the league at that time. And I think DeMarcus Cousins for sure was at his peak when he was a King. So as far as just, Kings as a whole, I think you got to put him in the top 10. There's a bunch of Kings legends like Peja, Bibby, Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie, Jared Wallace. There's a bunch of guys that are just up there. But I think, Chris Webber I already mentioned. There's just a bunch of guys. But I think you got to put Boogie in your top 5. Like, he's got to be in there somewhere. I would probably say that Boogie is somewhere in the top 5. Now, he didn't get to the playoffs, but I think that the pace that De'Aaron Fox is on, he'll probably rank as one of the top Kings as well. Him and Sabonis for sure. But the tenure there, I don't know how many seasons Boogie was there. Was he 7 seasons? 7 seasons? Yeah. So I think he played his best ball when he was with Sacramento. We saw a little bit of what he was when it carried over into New Orleans playing with Anthony Davis, but then he ended up getting hurt. So I think his best basketball was those 7 years when he was dominating the league with Sacramento.
100%, man. You got to put him in the top 10. I would argue top 2. I know a lot of old heads will say Mitch Richmond. He did his thing over his career, averaging 21, 4, and 4. So he did his thing. He was with the Kings for 7 years. And like you already mentioned, Chris Webber on his career averaged averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists over. And he played for the Kings for 6 years. Yeah. So I wouldn't say Boogie's the best King of all time, but he definitely takes the title of the best player that they've drafted.
I think he's the best big man.
He's had years, of averaging 28, 11, and 2, 27, 11, and 3, 24, 13, and 6, 23, 12, and 3. And, he said it somewhere. I think it was on a podcast, the bigs that are doing it now, he was the first one to do it. He first stepped on the scene, shooting threes, handling the ball.
Yeah.
And now we're about to see a 3-time MVP, DeMarcus Cousins 2.0, I guess you could say. So.
Well, if you kind of look at it now, all the big men now, it's like a prerequisite that you have to be able to shoot threes. But Boogie wasn't just a guy that can kind of pull up and shoot. He was a bruiser down low. He was just, one of those guys that, if he got you on the block, it was game over after that. I think just Sacramento was too. I think they just didn't really know how to build around him back in the day, and just if he would have the team, if Boogie was on this team right now, think about DeMarcus Cousins, De'Aaron Fox, they were on the same. But I think the trade that got for DeMarcus Cousins to be able to get, or for the Kings to be able to draft De'Aaron Fox, I think DeMarcus Cousins had to be traded, and that kind of led to them drafting De'Aaron Fox, if I'm not mistaken. If DeMarcus Cousins had to get traded for them to draft De'Aaron Fox. Am I right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so without that, then, those two wouldn't have been able to – that really wouldn't have been able to happen. So, DeMarcus Cousins is just – he was a dog, man. Like I said, he was the best big man in the league. And you look at Jokic, you look at Embiid, those are the guys now that, you kind of have to be able to shoot. If you're not able to spread the floor, then you can't really be on the floor. So most of the big men now are stretch fours, and those guys are, able to shoot the three now. But I still think, it kind of has to go back to, bringing it back to the old school of just being able to just back your guy down in the post and being able to just be unstoppable on the blocks. So I think DeMarcus Cousins was ahead of his time for sure.
1,000%. I agree with you. So I know Toddy mentioned in the intro, talking about the Niners and their cap space. We're not going to get into that, but we do have a Niner topic. Toddy, as a day one faithful, man, how do you feel about Robbie Gould eventually going his time in San Francisco is coming to an end?
Well, I'm seeing a whole bunch of mixed reviews kind of about that. Saw that Robbie Gould was saying, oh, well, Schefter came out and tweeted and said that he's going to test free agency. And now I saw a tweet from Matt Barrow saying it's a 50-50 chance that he could leave or he could stay. And then I was looking at, the top kickers, and the highest kicker right now is Justin Tucker. I think he's making like $7 million.
That's crazy.
And then I mean he's the best.
The highest.
He's the best. So I think that's kind of like the range as far as kickers go. But I think I saw somebody else. I forgot what the second guy was, but he was like around 5.5. So I was like, if we could pay, I think Robbie's making like 4.5. We could bump him up to maybe like 5.75, maybe 6. I wouldn't see why not. I mean, he's like, we never really have to worry about the kicker because Robbie Gould is, I think he's made the most kicks in playoff history of all time. He's just a guy that, you really don't have to worry about him whenever we send him out. It's like an automatic 3 points. But you have to pay a premium for it. So I don't know what Robbie Gould is kind of seeking. If he's trying to get like $8 million, maybe a $10 million contract. I don't know if anyone's willing to pay that, but why not stay with the team that you've kicked off most of your playoff kicks with and kind of just, make it happen. But we franchise tagged him last year, so that's why he's making a little bit more. I think he's kind of seeking a long-term deal, but I think he's like 40 something. So I don't know how much longer he wants to kick for. So, when you have a guy of just that caliber, you kind of just look at it from just everywhere, from special teams to offense to defense. The Niners are loaded with so much talent, and just to have a guy like Robbie Gould, just being able to just, not really have to worry about him when it comes to just him kicking field goals in general. So I just think that I think what he's seeking is probably like 6, or maybe he's trying to match or become the highest paid kicker in the league. At Justin Tucker, he thinks he's just as good as him. I think Justin Tucker has just a slight edge over Robbie Gould, but I think those are the 2 best kickers in the league. And why not give him $6 million? Like I said earlier in the podcast, the Niners have the 3rd highest cap space in the NFL. So, I mean, I think you can find room for him.
He wants to win, man. He wants to go somewhere and win. He's tired of getting to the big dance and, showing up for the jumpsuits and making these NFC championship runs, man. He wants to win. So, Robbie Gould, man, I apply. Hey, man, we got a kicker. We don't need one. But, I mean, hey, man, you want to jump on the backpack of Jalen Hurts to a ring, man. Come on over, man. You can come hold the ball for us.
He said he can come hold the ball.
The PAT for us. You're not going to be the kicker, but you can go Jake Elliott, man. Go. So let's move on to an NBA topic, man. We got Ja Morant being suspended by the Grizzlies for at least 2 games. We all saw the video, I'm assuming, of him holding a gun in a strip club on IG Live. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Toddy. What are you thinking?
Just the whole, spiel of it's like a whole like snowball effect, if that makes sense. First there was, the incident that happened with the guy pickup game at his house, and then I guess they got into it and he was punching on him. Or I guess the kid like threw the ball at Ja, and like then Ja just started punching on him, and then I guess it was reported that the kid was saying, "I'm about to come back and light this place up." And then Ja was like, "Oh, okay, so that's what you're gonna do." And then I guess Ja was like, he had the little thing on him, and so that's kind of what escalated that. And then there's the incident with, I guess his mom was at finish line, and they was giving his mom a hard time. They were saying, "Oh," and then the mom calls Ja to the mall, and he shows up 10 deep, and then he's like getting into it with all the people there or whatever worker that was giving his mom a hard time. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna figure out what time you get off." Blah blah blah. And okay, there's that. And then there's the whole, when they got into it with the Pacers. I guess it was Nembhard that they kind of got into it with, and then people were saying that there was a laser being pointed, a green laser at the bus.
Call of Duty.
And then people were saying that he probably had a gun or something like that. And then we hear, or not here, Ja, they lose. First of all, let's get this straight. They were in Colorado. They lose to the Nuggets on national television. Ja goes on IG Live and is dangling. He's turned it up. There's girls and the strippers in the background. He's listening to Young Boy, and I guess something about Young Boy just gets niggas fired up. I don't know what it is. So he decides to dangle a gun on Instagram Live, and that wasn't the greatest idea. So, just with everything, and then I guess the Grizzlies kind of beat the NBA to the point and said, "Oh, we're going to suspend him for 2 games," and then we heard Taylor Jenkins the other day say now it's indefinitely, so there's not really a timetable. He needs to find himself. Ja's PR team probably, or Ja came out and said that he's going to take some time. This is on my phone to do some soul searching. I'm just kind of paraphrasing what he said in the statement, so that he's going to be away from the team pretty much. And there's a lot of mixed things about this. I saw that Paul Pierce is kind of rocking with Ja, saying that he has to carry a gun around him because Paul Pierce got stabbed when he got robbed. I think it was a while ago when he was playing with the Celtics, and he said that he carried a gun everywhere with him because he wants to protect himself. Now, by all means, I'm not saying Ja shouldn't be able to protect himself with a firearm or something like that, but I'm saying when you're on Instagram Live and you're flashing it on live, like, I don't think that's something that you should be doing given the space that you're in. Ja has everything to lose. Me and you kind of talked about it in multiple and a few of our group chats of just how, he has a deal with Powerade. I think they're the first. It's been 5 years since Powerade has done something with an NBA athlete. He's like the lead athlete for whatever it is that they're doing, their campaign. And he just got a Nike deal. He has a $232 million max contract that's supposed to kick in next year. So you're I think you got to look at it from a macro spectrum of just him and how huge of a megastar that he is. And, everyone that looks up to him, and just, he's one of the biggest stars in the league. When you think of, we were talking about it on this podcast before, just guys that you want to see play every night. We all kind of agreed that Ja Morant is just one of those electrifying guys that you have no idea what he's going to do every night. Is he going to dunk on someone? Is he going to, go between the legs and gritty at the half court and do all this other stuff? And, we good in the West, and just all the theatrics of it is kind of just all kind of spiraling out of control. And, you kind of just wish that, he has the right type of people around him, and hope that he's surrounded by people that want to see him succeed. And you hope that his circle isn't kind of just, kind of tainting him in a way, going in the negative, in the wrong direction. So it kind of sucks to see, because I love Ja. I love him as a player. I think he's a cool individual. And, for him to see him kind of just, I wouldn't necessarily say spiraling, but kind of just headed in the wrong direction right when everything is kind of lining up for him. It kind of just sucks to see, and you hate to see talent get wasted. And I don't think it was cool for him to go on live, with a gun, given his status. He's not a guy that's, I'm from this, and bro, you're in the NBA. People would kill to be in his position. Kill to be in his position. So what I'm saying is, when you're on live and you're dangling a gun and doing this and that, you're going 4 steps back when you have to go 15 steps forward. So in a sense of him just getting it all together. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't be able to protect himself. By all means, you should be able to protect yourself any type of way that you can. But why are you going on live and doing this, that, and the third? Like Gilbert, we talked about this in the group chat. Gilbert Arenas got cut by the Wizards when he had all types of guns in the locker room. And there was no Instagram Live back then. So, there are rumors of, him getting suspended for 50 games plus, because there's not really a rule for being able to show, about weapons in the league. So there's not really a precedent or something to kind of, look to kind of go off of. I guess the most recent type thing is the Gilbert Arenas situation. But at the same time, you're kind of like, this is a whole different situation.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a lot to take in, and you took everything I was going to mention. I was listening to First Take today, and they mentioned how Carmelo Anthony and David Stern had a talk because Carmelo was suspended for 15 games for, I think it was
I don't
something.
remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was either, but he got suspended for 15 games, and David Stern essentially sat him down and said, "Look, man, there's nothing that you do that we don't know. We know who your crew is. We know what you have for breakfast. We know what you did for this. We know what you did for that." So look, we have ex, and Stephen A was mentioning how they have ex FBI agents, ex cops, ex DEA. Like they got people that know, that have the resources to make sure that their product isn't out here doing what Ja Morant is doing. So David Stern sat him down and said, "Look, man, you can either go left. We want you to come right with us, but if that's what you're gonna do, it ain't gonna be here."
Yeah, Carmelo said that the NBA is the feds.
No, for sure, man. Yeah. And I don't know if you listened to All the Smoke with DeJounte Murray. He was telling me telling the podcast that when he went back to UW, that the janitor said that they had called him, asking what kind of guy he was and whatnot. And I was like, damn, the janitor. They probably had like
at UW
4 interactions. Hey, bro, can you let me in the gym? Or hey, can you? Like, they're not talking every day. So these are the people that like you really, really don't talk to. So the NBA is making sure that they're gonna get the best out of their investment. At the end of the day, just like you and I, Todd, we have jobs. We're employers. We have to answer to somebody, and they have to answer to David Stern. And so it was definitely just a wake up call for Ja Morant. He's still young. He's only 23 years old, so he has a lot of time to turn it around and kind of get ahead of this. I'm not
getting the vibe that he's gonna lose anything. I'm not, because Nike came out and was like, oh, okay, yeah, like we're gonna give props to Ja. Appreciate him coming out and getting ahead of this thing. I don't think I've heard anything from Powerade or anything. I don't think he's getting cut by all means. I think he's gonna get suspended for an extended amount of time. I said 10 games at least. The Grizzlies like, hey, let's give him 2, but now it's kind of just indefinitely. So right now they're in second place. They're a game ahead of the Kings, and the Kings are kind of just knocking on that door of trying to, the Grizzlies could lose the second seed, and it won't just be because of Ja Morant. There's a lot of other things that kind of transpire. Dylan Brooks got suspended. Brandon Clark tore his Achilles. So I think just as an organization, there's a dark cloud over them, and everything's kind of just trending downwards, and there's no timetable for when Ja Morant's coming back.
Yeah, man. But the Grizzlies had their game last night against the Clippers. They ended up losing, unfortunately. But without Ja, Jaren Jackson Jr. is gonna have to show why he was an all-star. He's gonna have to go out there night in, night out, and not only carry them on the defensive end. And I can't wear this Duke jersey and not talk about my boy Tyus Jones. Man, arguably the best backup point guard in the league, coming in. 25 points, 12 assists, 5 steals with no turnovers. They're already down, like Toddy mentioned, they're already down Dylan Brooks. Brandon Clark's now down with an ACL. So for him to come in and do his thing, or Achilles, coming down. And so, it was good to see him going there. And, they have the bench, they have the depth, Devin Bain, they have Xavier Tillman that's going to come in and fill in that role. They just got Luke Kennard, who was sniping last night. So they definitely have the depth. So I definitely think if Ja doesn't come back, first round exit for sure. But yeah, I've heard different things from 50 games to season to just as small as the regular season.
Right,
so it's going to be interesting to see, how this whole Ja Morant thing plays out. But I'm definitely hoping, he comes back from this time off and is ready to go, and we can kind of get these things back rolling. Like you mentioned, the first Powerade athlete in 5 years, just got a Nike shoe deal, a $236 million contract kicking in next year. He still has a lot of things coming.
So
in a series?
They're okay, so they're second right now. I would imagine they would.
They're going to drop.
The third, fourth?
I say fourth, and Suns probably drop them or skip them.
Okay, so then they would if they went to fourth, they'll play the Warriors in the first round.
Warriors in 6
with Ja Morant.
Oh, if Ja, well, it all just depends, man. It all depends if Ja comes back.
I would assume Ja comes back to the playoffs. my assumption is he comes back to the playoffs. Do you not think he's coming back this year?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
He's not returning at all this year.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised because you got to think about it, Toddy. Like when Gilbert Arenas did that shit, the world wasn't where it is today, and like gun violence and what
Social
it is
media
today.
yeah.
So as big as Ja Morant is, you can arguably mention that he's a superstar. He has a Nike shooter. They got rid of Kyrie Irving for Ja Morant, and for him to do this, it in the times we're in, like I mentioned with gun violence, it's not a good time for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made this a big deal. Like you mentioned, there's no nothing in the rule book for guns and whatnot, because you just wouldn't think, you wouldn't even fathom the idea of guns being involved. But
you're making
like we've been going back and forth about, man, it's the people you hang out with, and he's gonna have to make the decisions. I don't want to do this, and I don't want to be portrayed like this. I have thousands of millions of little kids looking up to me, and this is the last thing that they want to see.
Hey, man. I think even if he does come back, they're losing in the first round.
Man, such high hopes in the offseason.
Yeah, so.
But like we mentioned, the third seeded Kings were able to go 2-1 last week. What were your thoughts on them?
Well, who did they beat last week? They beat
OKC.
They beat OKC,
Clippers, and we lost to the Timberwolves.
So they beat OKC, and they beat OKC without Shea.
Both times.
Yeah, and then
the second game was without Fox.
And then they beat the Clippers, but Kawhi Leonard didn't play. I think the Clippers, they didn't win a game since that huge double or overtime game. That was the highest scoring game, or second highest scoring game ever. And they kind of just spiraled down ever since. So they're like trending towards like seven or 8 right now. So the Clippers are kind of trying to fight and claw their way back. The Kings did lose to a scorching hot Timberwolves team. And Anthony Edwards he played pretty well. He keeps talking about how he loves playing in Sacramento. I mentioned it. I told you guys on the podcast. I was like, he was like, they were asking him. They was like, so like, what's like a city that you love playing in? And he said Sacramento. This was like, he said this a couple of weeks
before we even went.
Yeah, but he said this a couple of weeks ago, and then he was like, yeah, like he loves playing in Sacramento. Just the fans there are crazy, and then he kind of doubled down on it. After his victory against them last Saturday. So I thought that was a game that the Kings should have won. It was a gotta-have-it game. But like we said, with these recent events with Ja Morant and, the team kind of just spiraling down, they're only a game down from the Grizzlies. So these games, these W's kind of just have to start coming to kind of just, guarantee them, home court advantage throughout most of the playoffs. So I think home court's going to be, if they are able to get the 2 seed, is going to be huge. I think a lot of people aren't going to, realize how hard it is, or it will be, to play in Sacramento, and how, crazy the crowd can actually get and how loud the crowd can get. Because if you just go back to those Arco Arena days when they were playing against, Shaq and Kobe, those games were off the freaking rails. So you can only imagine a city that's been starving for 16 years and hasn't been to the playoffs since. Kevin said you thought the Timberwolves were bad when they made the playoffs. Boy. When Sacramento makes it, they weren't just happy to get 30 wins or 40 wins this past year. So I think they're going to, have more than 40 wins, obviously, but I think there's a lot at stake here. Just they're playing right now. De'Aaron Fox is out with a, wrist injury? So they're down 1 right now. It's the first quarter, so it's early. So they're playing against New Orleans. So these are games that they kind of got to have. So kind of when it comes down to it, when you're thinking about, playoffs, seeding, tiebreakers, and all of that, teams like, the Suns, they're 3-0 with Kevin Durant. Before Sunday, the Warriors were a team that was kind of getting pretty hot. So when you're kind of just thinking about how it's kind of coming down to the last stretch of Sacramento and them being able to, rattle off victories, you got to go 2-1. You got to go 3-0, 4-1 in weeks of just trying to just, fight for seeding. And the time is now, right now. like we already mentioned, with the Grizzlies kind of, trending in, downwards, the Kings were coming off of a 5-game win streak. If they're able to just rattle off 4 in a row, 5 in a row, it'll definitely help them and catapult them to the second seed. Now, I personally believe Sacramento's is going to be able to get the second seed, but they're going to have to play lights out going down the stretch.
No, 100%, man. And just to kind of piggyback on the things Toddy said, for us to go into OKC, man, and you can see that they're kind of maybe in tank mode because Shea didn't play those 2 games, but we were able to come in there and then 2 games in 2 days and go in there and get those 2 back-to-back games. Like Toddy mentioned, we didn't have Fox. So for us to come in and step up and get that game was huge for us. And for us to play the Clippers again, I think probably about a week from like Toddy mentioned, the double overtime game, the second highest scoring game in NBA history. Fox, coming in doing this thing with another 30 ball, scoring 33 points with 7 boards and 7 assists, proving to the world and to, Sacramento that he was an all-star and he was also for a reason. Sabonis continuing to do his thing against the Clippers, scored 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists, man. And I think the key to that game was Harrison Barnes, man, scoring 20 points. When Harrison scores 20 points or Keegan goes off of that 20 ball, that improves the Kings' win chances tremendously. And then just to finish the Clippers game, we had Kevin Huerter coming back with 18 points, playing like he did to begin the year. You can definitely see that the fatigue got to him. He hasn't been a player that had to play this many minutes and essentially have this big of a role. He had a semi-go role, but playing with a superstar like Trae Young, your roles could be diminished. But playing with a superstar, all-star like DeMarcus Sabonis, who loves to pass the ball, him and Kevin Huerter have been a match made in heaven. And then like the Timberwolves game, it just sucks to see Keegan Murray playing. I think he played 29 minutes and had 0 points. Yeah. So just running around there playing like PJ Tucker, like he's playing defense, but he ain't doing much else for us. Trey Lyles, shout out PJ. Trey Lyles was able to come off the bench and give us 15. But I'm just tired of this roller coaster ride with Malik Monk. It's like double Clipper game with a 45, and then the next game he'll give you 8, and the next game he'll give you 4. Yeah. So it's real up and down with him. But if we can get him consistently, Trey Lyles consistently comes in off the bench for us, game in and game out, and does his thing. And then after that, we're shooting, hoping that our other starters can pick it up. But we're gonna have to go, and our bench is gonna have to show it. Like Toddy mentioned, with admirations of catching that 2 seed, we're gonna have to show up. We're gonna have expectations now going into the playoffs with a 2 seed, playing behind the Denver Nuggets with a 3-time MVP. Anything can go our way. So we're coming in there. We're expected to come in there win. So coming off the All-Star break, and for us to come in this last week 2-1, I have none but high praises. But now, while we're mentioning high praises, man, we might as well get right into the football part of the episode. We're going to walk over the NFL Combine. Toddy, who basically stood out for you in the NFL Combine?
Well, there was Bijan. He ran a 4.47. That was kind of the highlight for the running backs. But I think, what everybody's kind of going to allude to is, Anthony Richardson. He goes out, sets a record for the high jump or the vertical jump. And then I think it was he set a record for something else that had something to do with jumping. I was like, that really doesn't matter because quarterbacks really don't be jumping like that, so it don't really matter. But it just shows how athletically gifted that he is. He ran a 4.4 there, so he's got 4.4 speed. He's got receiver speed. Has a cannon for an arm. I kind of read, or I was listening to a podcast, 3 and Out, John Middlecott's podcast. He was saying he's a former scout. He used to scout for the Eagles, actually, Kevin. So he's real tight with, Andy Reid.
Knows talent.
All those guys. Yeah, pretty much. So
essentially, yeah.
So he was he was a former scout, and he was saying that usually scouts have all of their, I think it was first round grades by the end of January. So it's already like it's usually after the Senior Bowl that they have like pretty much everything's graded and everything's kind of all good to go because the tape's kind of already out there for, guys that they think are first round talents, this, that, and the third. And the combine is just kind of them validating what they kind of already are. Anthony Richardson was a guy that, going into the year, he was a guy that was, talented, can make, big throws. But he was a guy that was kind of inconsistent when it comes to, making certain types of throws. He has the arm talent. He has the physique. He's 6'4", 240 that he weighed at. He's a tank. I think his measures kind of compared a little bit to Cam Newton, what he was at the combine. I think he might have been faster than Cam, if I'm not mistaken. But just he's physically gifted. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league. He might be just the most physically gifted player or quarterback in this year's class. But I think the best quarterback is the guy who didn't even throw, who was just sitting there backpacked up,
Hanging
talking
out,
there,
just came for the gear.
just came for the gear, man. Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback, he ended his Alabama career with throwing for 5 touchdowns, I think for close to 400 yards, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look those stats up later. But I just think, just him, just being a lot of, GMs kind of look for the Josh Allen type when you look at just physical talents as far as a quarterback goes. There are the Kyler Murrays out there. There are the Drew Breeses out there. But usually for quarterbacks, they want their quarterback to be, 6'4", 220, can be able to withstand, an NFL season. A lot of guys don't think that Bryce Young is going to be able to take, hits at the NFL level, but he played in the SEC for 2 years and was able to withstand hits at an SEC level.
Got hurt a lot this year though.
Yeah, he did get hurt, but I think he's a guy that he is the best quarterback in this league, in my opinion. If you just look at his tape, he's able to make pretty much any throw that's out there possible. But the thing that's going to knock him is that he's only 6 feet, 200 pounds. So the 200 pounds kind of helped him a little bit, but it doesn't really help of how frail and thin that he is. And I think I wouldn't pass up on Bryce Young just because he's only 6 feet. If he's the best quarterback, you take him because he can make all of the requisite throws that you need a quarterback to make. A lot of guys go to the combine and fall in love with, T-shirts and shorts. I can throw the ball 80 yards. We saw that with, Zach Wilson, at his pro day, being able to make all these throws and just being able to throw off his back foot. I'm throwing it 70 yards. Hey, look at me, T-shirt, shorts. And then you kind of get out there and you're like, what the hell is this? So
what the hell is this?
I think, it could be a facade for a lot of people when, you get out there. Now, I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson's not going to be great as a quarterback. I think if he goes to the right situation, which he probably won't, given all the guys that are drafting in the top 10. But he's kind of got to get out there and prove it to everybody. And I just don't think he's the best quarterback, but I think he has a lot of attributes that you can build off of. Lamar Jackson went 30th. He was like end of the first round. He was the MVP. So a lot of guys can turn into that, but hell, Josh Allen was garbage his first 2 years. Couldn't really throw water into a lake. But it kind of just, it took him a little bit to him to kind of get adjusted to everything. Now, Justin Herbert, he came out day one, Patrick Mahomes, I'm out there dueling with him. But, not everybody is Justin Herbert. Not everybody is, Patrick Mahomes. So at the same time, you kind of got to take it. It's a double-edged sword. So you got to be willing to develop that quarterback. And I think he's going to probably take some time to develop.
Yeah, man. Like you mentioned, Anthony Richardson came in and stole the show, man. And I saw him answer a question and talking about, the quarterbacks he looked up to. And in high school, he used to call himself Cam Jackson.
That's crazy.
Cam Jackson. He said, I want to go out there and be them. And it shows, like you mentioned, he came out there and he did his thing. Running a 4.43 40 for a quarterback is insane.
Cam
at his height,
though, too. He did go to Florida.
He went to Florida. So for him to come in and size up at 6'4.5", that's taller than George Kittle. He weighed in at 220, at 244. That's heavier than Hassan Reddick. His hands are bigger than DeAndre Hopkins. A 40.5 vert, which is higher than Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Broad jump, record-breaking broad jump that broke the dude who previous broke the record was Odell Beckham. He's the guy that you make in Madden. If you want to create a quarterback, that's the quarterback you create. He's coming in for day one. A lot of people give him the Josh Allen comparison, but I think he's going to come in right away and be great no matter what situation. He just has the perfect skill set in the modern NFL. Yes, you can say he's probably not the best thrower, but you can tell by his pro day that he improved on it a lot from the season. I think through the first 4 or 5 games, he probably had 3 passing touchdowns, but he turned it on towards the end. And, he's more of a quarterback.
Played in the SEC, too.
Yeah, and playing the SEC, like Toddy mentioned, is no joke. Like they were saying for Bryce Young, and when I played in the SEC, definitely brings some weight coming into the NFL. Yeah. But Anthony Richardson, man, stole the show, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. And, the odds, I've been talking to Toddy about the odds, it's been jumping, man. So I don't know what the odds are currently.
Do you think he could go number one?
I think it depends. I think it depends who the Bears traded to. I think if the Bears were to trade it to the Falcons or not the Saints, the Colts, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all.
That'd be crazy because, we hear about guys like, Justin Fields saying, oh, it's cold in Chicago. So, it's the elements are kind of different, when people, players, it's hard to adjust in the cold when players play in certain states because they're not used to it. So Brady was a guy that thrived in the cold. You look at most of the top quarterbacks, they usually play in the cold. Big Ben, he played in the cold. So for, Richardson to kind of, him being in a dome, that could help him a lot because he has 8 home games, doesn't have to really worry about the weather. So we did see, I think it was Irsay that came out and said that he loves the Alabama kid, which is Bryce Young. So that could be a smokescreen saying that, no, maybe we really love Richardson. So it'll be fun to see who the Bears kind of trade the pick to. And the pick is kind of for sale as Adam Schefter already tweeted. So it said that, I think another report came out said that they're not really in a rush to trade it yet. And they're, possibly they'll wait until draft night if that's what it takes. They could bluff and maybe the Bears do draft a quarterback. Who knows? But they're going to the highest bidder. And if they're able to get 3 first-round picks for the number 1 pick and trade down to like the 4th pick and still have a top 4 pick and get the guy that they really want, that's what they'll do. They'll wait for it. So a lot can transpire from now until draft day.
Man, while we're on the topic of the draft, talking about the picks, how would you rank the top 5 incoming quarterbacks in draft order and kind of 1 to 5 from I think this guy will go first off the board to 5 and to being the last?
So the guys, who are we going off of? So we got
I think so we're gonna do Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, BJ, Bryce Young, and then Maggie D.
Duggan, man. I like Duggan.
Dude ran a 4.5.
Duggan ran a 4.5.
I didn't even know he was that fast.
There's a DRT, Dorian Thompson Robinson. He's all right. The guy from UCLA.
He got in the shootout. You heard it here first.
Whoa. Backup quarterback. He fits the system.
Fits the system. Last day.
Jalen was out. He was out, a couple games. DTR comes.
We're not re-signing Gardner.
We need a guy.
Hey, man, but let's get back to this top 5, Tyler. Let me hear it.
1, Bryce Young. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft class. 2 is kind of interesting. I think CJ's pretty good. I think he showed a lot in that Georgia game, but I saw some inconsistencies with him throughout the year when they were kind of going up against Maryland, an inferior team. You saw some concerns there. Just over the years of him, there's been concerns about him not being able to win the big game when they lost to Oregon on their home turf. I believe it was last season in the first game of the year. There was that. Losing to a Michigan, crosstown rival that they kind of usually go at it with. I think he can make all of the throws necessary. Did he run the 40?
CJ?
Young? Or CJ?
Or Bryce Young? No, CJ didn't.
CJ didn't? Okay. So
I think he just threw him.
I think he's a sneaky, elusive runner that a lot of people don't really give him credit for. He had a huge run in that Georgia game. That was kind of what set them up to kind of go
the field goal range down his leg. Yeah, we remember.
Pretty much. I think CJ is the second best quarterback. Third, I would say Anthony Richardson, just given his talent, what he's able to do. He can potentially be the best just based off of his physical gifts that he has, that, being able to run a 4.4 and setting all the broad jump, vertical jump, him being able to throw 90 yards down the field is just, that alone can just, you're the best quarterback there is. But a lot goes into being a quarterback, and I think he doesn't have all of those yet, and I think it might take him a little bit more time to develop. Fourth, I'm going to go Max Duggan. Just him, the year that he had, TCU was not ranked at the beginning of the year, and then being able to go all the way to the national championship speaks volumes. he came at one point in time. I thought Max Duggan was going to win the Heisman. He came down just a little bit. There were a couple of games where I thought he didn't play too well. They ended up coming out on top of the W, but there were some things that I would have loved to see. A lot of people are going to come for me this, but Will Levis, I don't think he's good, man. I've seen him play against.
I knew it was coming.
I don't think the guy is good at all. Levis, I saw him play against the number one team in the nation, Georgia. He freaking pissed down his leg. He's throwing picks, this, that, and the third. A lot of people are kind of judging him based off of his tape from the year before, and it kind of was like, all right, this is the guy that could probably potentially go number one or number two. He could be in the conversation for one of the top picks. A lot of guys are really high on Will Levis and what he's, his physical traits are kind of up there too. I think he's like 6'4" as well, 220. I think he weighed at. But I just don't really see it with him. When I saw him play against the top guys, when he played against Ole Miss, they lost. When he played against, when they went up against, I think it was but he was hurt most of the year too. I think he hurt his shoulder too. But when he was healthy, he played against Georgia, and that was kind of the game that I wanted to see him go up against, because a lot of people were talking about Will Levis being one of the top quarterbacks of this draft. I saw him playing against Georgia. Was not impressed, because that's going to be the closest you'll probably see an NFL defense in college. There's a whole bunch of first round picks on that team alone, that defense alone. So I'm not really too high on Will Levis. So you could swap him. Maybe him and Max Duggan are kind of in that same boat, because when we saw Max Duggan go up against Georgia, they only scored 7 points. So you could kind of rotate Duggan 5 and Levis 4, or however you want to do it. But that would be my top 5. So it'd be Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Duggan, Levis.
Quick take for you. Stetson Bennett getting drafted?
Stetson Bennett probably goes 6th round, maybe. I don't think he was ever really going. The police thing, him getting, arrested did not help. But I don't know. Maybe just, be a clipboard guy and just kind of just be a backup quarterback in the league. He won 2 national championships. That's not nothing. I would, to be honest, I'm going to go back to my top 5. I'm going to put a guy in. I'm going to say Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker should be in the top 5.
I was surprised you didn't put him in there.
Yeah.
Where does he fall in top 5?
You didn't give me the option. So
because no one likes him like you like him.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker, I think, was a guy that was putting up all kinds of crazy numbers. Again, when everybody goes up against Georgia except C.J. Stroud, apparently, they kind of look human. When Hendon Hooker played, Georgia, and the game was in Tennessee, he looked pedestrian. Albeit he was setting all types of crazy records. He was on track to win the Heisman. And then for him to go down in terms of ACL, that kind of, obviously stopped everything. They did beat Alabama this year. That was, a crazy game that I did win money on, by the way. I think
now I know why you're a fan.
We'll probably boot out Duggan and put Hendon Hooker in there. I'll put him at 4. I'll put Hendon at 4, and then so we can go back and clip this back later. We got Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker, Will Levis.
Oh, man. I respect it, Todd. You've been on the Hooker train for a while, and you've been riding strong. Yeah. So if I had to rank my top 5, man, I think it was
put CJ number 1.
I think it was neck to neck until the semifinal game. To see C.J. Stroud go against, like Todd mentioned, arguably the most realistic NFL defense you're going to face, for him to go in there and basically lead his team to the red zone and place it in the middle exactly where the kicker wanted it, and the kicker pissed down his leg. But for CJ to go out there and show that he's a dual athlete, man. I know everyone was saying he was just throwing to Marvin Harrison, and maybe that Marvin Harrison is just that good of a receiver, but CJ Stroud is that guy. So if we're talking quarterbacks, he's got to be number 1 for me. Second, I got to go Bryce Young. Like you mentioned, to play in the SEC, you got to be legit. But I guess not for Will Levis, but I'll get back into that later on. But Bryce Young, man, I'm a part of the conspiracy theorist, bro. I don't think he's anywhere close to 6 foot.
Probably not. He's probably not.
So
like
I just think he didn't want to get weighed in.
200 pounds.
He didn't want to. I'm saying he didn't get weighed. That's why he didn't do no measurements, bro. He didn't weighed. He didn't want to get measured, bro. He's gonna get measured at 5'10", bro. Because you got to think about it. Every level, if there's an online roster, the coach is gonna say, "Oh, you're 6'3", 6'6".
That's crazy.
6 foot, 6'2", 5'10", 6 foot. Yeah. It's just what coaches do, man, to get that competitive advantage and just to get in the mindset of the defense. But I don't think he's going to weigh in at that. And then you look at the guys like Tua Tagovailoa, Drew Brees, the smaller quarterbacks like Drew Brees had a lot of success, but he had a lot of injuries. And we're seeing with Tua, he played in the SEC just like Bryce. To be that small of a guy, you got 300-pound linemen coming at you. He would go against Bama's defense and they would just touch him. They wouldn't tackle him. Now they're coming full speed at you and they're going to tackle you. Yes, he's a mobile guy and he's a generational talent, but I think his size and he's just not a big guy.
And there's usually a stigma on Alabama quarterbacks that, they don't really pan out in the NFL. And, he's one of those guys. Tua was the last guy. Mac Jones is in there, and we're kind of see him, what's really going on with him. I can't really remember after those. A.J. McCarron. He's
whoa. Okay, I'm tired of disrespect.
So
you're not going to mention Jalen Hurts?
Oh, well, Jalen, he transferred to.
He's a Bama quarterback.
Yeah, okay. You're right. I forgot Jalen Hurts.
Disrespect.
But I think he's probably the best quarterback since probably Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts I think Jalen Hurts, as far as NFL success go, is the best quarterback to come out from Alabama. Just based off of his, what he's been able to do, playing at MVP level, getting to a Super Bowl. He's probably the best, talent since then. But I think Bryce has that same opportunity to kind of be. I think Bryce is a better passer in college than Jalen Hurts was. Kind of took him a little bit more time to develop. I think his passing is more developed now, and so it's kind of just going to affect stuff. So it's kind of going to it just kind of all goes into his size. Jalen Hurts is a lot thicker than a Bryce Young is, so a lot of people aren't really worried about him being more durable is kind of what it is, even though Jalen Hurts did miss some time last year.
So for our audio listeners only, the Queen Bee self came in and had to support her man, period. She thinks he's out here spitting facts, and I think he's just out here talking. But let me get back to this list, man. So we have CJ Stroud at 1, Bryce Young at 2. You got to be Anthony Richardson at 3, man. Like I mentioned, he's a quarterback out of a video game. There's nothing he can't do anymore. You can't say he can't make the throws. Yes, it's in T-shirts and shorts, and he could go number 1. So I think his upside is tremendous. A lot of people give him that Josh Allen comparison. It took him a couple years, and just to get him the right coach with Brian Daboll and really make him into what he is today. So like Toddy mentioned, where he lands is going to be big. But I think he's going to be one of those talents to where you can place him anywhere, man, and he's going to be successful. Coming in 4th, man, I think it has to be Will Levis. Per quote from Toddy, playing the SEC, got to give you something. But I guess not for Will Levis, man. You got to remember, he played football at a basketball school.
Yeah.
He's not throwing to Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, and Devontae Smith. Yeah. He just doesn't get that. But you mentioned
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh man, we don't have to go. But a lot of people mention when they regard to Will Levis, they regard to his last season. He had Wan'Dale Robinson, who was a star for the Giants until he got hurt, and he just had a pro style offense, and he was able to go out there and show that he can play at the next level. This year, like you mentioned, he got hurt. And Kentucky football, man, it's Kentucky football. You don't ever pick them to win. Every time you see whoever playing against them, you bet for the other team. So Will Levis, and I feel like he's got to shine in a pro-style offense. And for 5th, man, I'm going to have to go Max Duggan, bro. I was not expecting him to run a 4.5. Like, that was insane. Like, I had to rewatch it.
I think he rushed for like 10, 15 touchdowns.
Bro, he did his thing, but and don't get me wrong, if it wasn't for Hendon Hooker going down, I would definitely have him over Duggan. But Duggan was finished 2nd in the Heisman finalist, so you have to give him his due credit. Like you mentioned, for someone to be he wasn't even a starter at the beginning of the year on a team that wasn't ranked, and then to finish as a 2nd in the Heisman, win the quarterback job, and take your team to a national championship, just goes a lot to say. So my top 5 for this incoming class would be CJ Stroud at 1, Bryce Young at 2, Anthony Richardson at 3, Will Levis at 4, and Max D at 5.
Yeah.
So while we're on the quarterback,
I love it. Even though you got to be consistent because Kevin has said that CJ Stroud is better than Bryce Young since I don't even know how long. I think it's been
forever.
Since last year, even before we had the podcast. So he's been saying that CJ Stroud is better. I was saying I've always and will stand firm on who my guy is, the guy that's going number one next year. I said if he were in this class, he would go number one, hands down. Wouldn't even have to go to the combine because, like, you know what? We're going to sign you because we're getting the number one pick. Their teams would be trading how many first-round picks for the guy coming out next year. So we even got to talk about that.
So, Toddy, just for everyone listening, you're listening to Stats Over Politics, episode 18 with Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. This is called Stats Over Politics. So, Toddy, I had to bring a stat for you. So you're drafted with the number one pick. You need a quarterback. You have quarterback 1, 303.7 yards per game, 85 total touchdowns, and a passer efficiency of 165.7.
I know what he's doing.
Or you got to take the quarterback 2 passing yards per game with 325 a game. They both had 85 touchdowns, and quarterback 2 had a pass efficiency of 182.4.
I'm going with Bryce Young.
You go Bryce Young. So for the audio only listeners, Bryce Young was quarterback 1, and CJ Stroud was quarterback 2. So I think Ty's doing a lot of politicking, man. But we'll leave that for here and there, man.
I knew he was gonna do that. He's gonna blind resume me.
But while we're talking about quarterbacks, we can't not talk about quarterbacks without mentioning Derek Carr, the Seattle Seahawks. The New Orleans Saints signed Derek Carr for a 4-year deal worth $150 million, Toddy. What's going through your mind when you hear that?
It's like 100 guaranteed. I forget how much money is guaranteed.
100 guaranteed.
Yeah, it's so when this first came out this morning, usually me and Kevin are the guys that usually try to race to see who's going to beat each other on, getting information into the group chat. And then it kind of said that, plans to sign or they're nearing it. They're closing in on a deal. So I didn't know if it was kind of set in stone. And then I saw Derek Carr tweet, "Who dat?" And I was like, all right, so he's going to go to the Saints. I kind of just think that this guarantees them right now. If you look at the rest of the division, it kind of guarantees them an NFC South title. I honestly think they have the best team. A lot of people are like, why didn't you go to Carolina? I was like, Carolina is, they're up and coming. I think the Saints have the best defense. The Saints have a top 10 defense in the league. Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Honey Badger, DeMario Davis. When you have guys like that on the defensive side of the ball, kind of being able, I think, this is the best defense Derek Carr's ever had in his life. So, him being able to kind of come in, I know Jameis Winston is kind of punching the air right now. Thinking that maybe we can win with me, but obviously the Saints had other plans. I just think this offense is underrated. Kind of, they just never really had a quarterback. You have a Taysom Hill, you have an AK Alvin Kamara. I think is one of the. He had a down year, but I think that he's one of the top running backs in this league. You have a Chris Olave. Don't really know what the status is of Michael Thomas. He's probably going to get cut. Just given that he's a cap casualty and how much money that he's making, he's not playing. So he's probably unless the Saints are kind of we want to bring you back, let's bring you back. We got Derek Carr now. In the couple of games they played, now shout out to my cousin Michael. He was telling me when Mike Thomas was playing, he had 2 touchdowns against us. And he didn't have a lot of yards, but he was balling in that game. And then he was like, yeah, Mike Thomas is that dude, but he just has to stay healthy. I don't know. I don't know how good the relationship is with Mike Thomas and the Saints organization. Has it soured over him, being hurt and getting, surgery on company time? It's kind of something that they haven't really, loved too much. But, just him not really being there and not really being physically able to perform. A lot of people kind of forget about how good Mike Thomas is. So we'll see where that takes them. But they do have a potential star receiver in Chris Olave, who did go to, I believe it was Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken.
He went to wide receiver U.
Okay.
That's what we address it as.
But I do think that this kind of, like we said, we looked around the league or that division. Sam Darnold on the Panthers. You look at Mariota on the Falcons. These are teams that are drafting in the top 10. So this division is not good. So it's kind of like whoever has the best quarterback wins. And I think the Saints got the best quarterback, and that kind of just guarantee. So if you win the division, that guarantees them a playoff spot. So I think that they're good enough to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, man. For our audio only listeners, we have one of our loyal listeners, Uncle Manny, coming in and saying a lot of money. 150 mil, 100 guarantee. That's a lot of money for a quarterback with no playoff wins. Oh, and for another audio listener, we have another day one listener, Wesley, coming in saying, "Is that a Seth Curry jersey?" Nah, man. This is Kyrie Irving, dog. This is legit.
Whoever number one he wants him to be.
This could be Kyrie. This could be Zion. This could be Jabari. A lot of number ones, man. It goes deep. But, just going off of what Toddy was mentioning with his Raiders, or not Raiders, with the Saints deal, Drew Brees is coming into an offense that is pretty loaded. I don't know if Derek Carr. Yeah. I don't know if Jarvis Landry is coming back, but you mentioned Chris Olave coming.
About him.
Yeah, he's coming from wide receiver U. We got Chris Olave, who had an extremely great rookie year. If it wasn't for Gary Wilson, I think he would have a good chance to debate for rookie of the year. And then having a top 5 back when a top 5, top 10 back when healthy, debatably, with Alvin Kamara. So there, like you mentioned, he's having a top 5, top 10 defense. Every year that Derek Carr has played for the Raiders, they have had one of the worst defenses.
29.
Literally 29 down every year. So he's single-handedly been carrying that team he carried them to the playoffs. He got hurt. So Derek Carr just has been dealt a bad deck of cards. Playing with the Raiders franchise has been a mediocre franchise, but they're starting to get it together. They had a lot of things that happened outside of the house that you can't really plan for. They cut a lot of first-round picks. We all know the Henry Ruggs situation. So a lot of things went wrong for him. You can only imagine what Henry Ruggs would have looked like along Devontae Adams. So this team is going to be fun to watch. And like Toddy mentioned, that division is crap. Those two of those teams might have different quarterbacks. I know right now it's looking like
Kyle Trask,
Derek Carr, Kyle Trask. What was the dude from Cincinnati? Why can't I remember his name?
The dude from Cincinnati. What's his name? Damn.
What is his name? Light-skinned cat. I can't remember his name. And then they have the Panthers, who are looking for a quarterback. So two of these teams might have completely new quarterbacks. We might be looking at this with Derek Carr, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and Kyle Trask. Or the Bucs might shock the world and, forget a rebuild. We're trying to get back to it right now and make a move for one of those top guys.
Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, I was almost, damn it. How do we not know? But this division is going to be Derek Carr, so he's set up for success. Once the playoffs start, they're going to be probably one of the worst teams in the playoffs in the NFC. But the NFC is wide open depending on who you ask. Not if you ask me, but depending on who you ask, the NFC is wide open. It's definitely not as talented as the AFC, so he's going to have a chance to contend. I don't know Super Bowl because it's going to have to go to the link, but he's going to have a chance to come through and do his thing. He's been in the AFC. It's been hard, every other Sunday or whatnot.
Look at his division that he's leaving.
That's what I'm saying. You have to play Patty, so it wasn't easy. Now you have to come up the last couple of years, last 3 years, I believe, with Justin Herbert. So he went from being one of the top quarterbacks in that division to arguably before this season, you would say was the 4th best quarterback with all the expectations with Russ Wilson coming in.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot for him, and I think that this next step for him is gonna.
How many games are the Saints winning next year?
Dude, their division sucks, bro. They're probably gonna.
They're gonna sweep the
10-7.
No, they might lose. 10-7 next year. I say
10-7. I mean, it depends what the rest of their season, the schedule looks like.
Bro, the Bucs got in. They were 7-10, I think, this year. They were 7-10.
Yeah, for our audio listeners, man,
7 wins can win you this division.
Man, preach. For our audio only listeners, we have Uncle Manny coming back again, mentioning Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. Man, I think they're going to be clearing the clipboard. They're going to be carrying the clipboard. They're just going to be supporting them. Derek Carr, I forgot to mention, was mid-drafted by the quarterback who is now the coach for the Saints. I can't remember his name. He's used to be the defensive coordinator, but now he's the head coach. Dennis Allen. So he brought him into this league, and he had all the expectations for him. So they're getting to reunite in New Orleans. Toddy mentioned the defense, so it's going to be a lot of good things coming in New Orleans. But like I mentioned, the NFC runs through the link, so you can only do so much. So moving on, we can't mention one quarterback signing and not the other. I think arguably the shock of the day. Seattle Seahawks extended Geno on a 3-year deal worth $105 million. Toddy, I have to hear
this. Brought so much joy to me that I didn't even think that it was real. I was like, there's no way, bro. They gave Geno $100 million, man. Was it? You said so? It's 3 years, 100 million, 105 million. Let's do that math real quick. 105 divided by
annual
3.
year 35.
About 35. So it's not terrible, you know. It's just so high with franchise tag and the market for quarterbacks now. You got to pay at least $30 million for a reputable quarterback. Geno Smith is a glorified backup, in my opinion. Caught lightning in a bottle last year. Wasn't really that much tape on Geno Smith last year because he hadn't played in freaking 10 years. So he got drafted by the Jets and then just being kind of around the league and then being Russell Wilson's backup for however long that it was and then finally getting to start now. So, I mean, hey, 2 wins a year in Seattle, you can kind of just book that now. Then the Niners run the NFC West. I just think that it's pure joy to me. If you look at the division now, who's coming back as quarterbacks, Kyler Murray is out for with the ACL, so he's probably going to miss
half the year.
Yeah, like half the game.
And they'll be tanking the full season.
So there's that. That goes out the window. You got Geno Smith, who the Niners beat 3 times last year. So I'm just like, you want to take care of your guy. I get it. Pete Carroll's a guy that loves to take care of his guys. He wants to get his guys paid, yada, yada, yada. But I just don't think Geno Smith is that guy. I think the only team that you would somewhat have to worry about is the Rams, even though they're kind of going off the rails a little bit. You're hearing about Allen Robinson wanting to get traded. There's Jalen Ramsey who's probably going to get traded. And then they released Bobby Wagner and this, that, and the third. So the Rams kind of need picks and they're not, when it comes to drafting guys, they haven't been the best, but they haven't really had a chance since, drafting number 1 overall when it was Jared Goff. So you're kind of just like, there's not really a struggle, a tug in the NFC West. So I think the Niners kind of run that division now and, I'd love to see them go undefeated in that division again. And curious to see, who's going to be there when it comes playoff time, man. So, Kevin said the Eagles are in the West. Not really worried about them. It took for the Niners not having any quarterbacks for them to lose, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. The NFC is wide open, and I think the Niners are kind of just, waiting for, something to happen. Like I already said, the Niners do have the 3rd most as far as cap space goes. They have a lot of money to spend. And so I'm very curious to see who's going to be, there's a couple of D linemen out there that I'm very curious.
Okay, before we start rambling, this is a 49ers podcast.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things transpiring come free agency. It's brewing. Just know that it's brewing.
It's brewing. So I got a hot take for you, Todd. Are you ready for this?
Here we go.
I think they're on to something. Bringing Geno back, he won the locker room. They have the 5th pick in the draft. They can trade back. They have the 5th pick in the draft from the Broncos.
Are you saying they're going to trade back?
They can trade back and get some shit. That you're thinking of the NFC today of March 6th. It could look different on draft night. They can bring in some guys. The 5th pick is a lot of value. They're not drafting a quarterback. You're not paying Geno $35 a year to clear a clipboard. It just ain't happening, man. Geno Smith came in and like he'll be gone. He'll be gone. 5.
Stroud go 5.
He gonna tell him like Dion, like, don't even worry about it, dog. I'll be gone. My table will be empty. Don't even worry about it.
Hey, man.
But
depends on who's drafting.
Nah, man. So like Uncle Manny mentioned another comment. I agree. Geno got lucky. Geno got lucky as hell. No one, like Patty said, there was no film. He didn't write back. There was no film on him coming in, and for him to come in there and do his thing. And a lot of people don't want to give him the credit, but that first half against the Niners in the playoffs, I know Toddy was sitting back there like, damn,
bro, Geno's lighting our ass.
He didn't. We ain't right back. We should have wrote him back. God damn it! But Geno Smith to come in there and do his thing, man. Showed a lot. They were in quarterback chaos. And for him to come in that first year and kind of, rally him to the playoffs with Russell Wilson was struggling and all that going on in the background with the wristbands, and Russell Wilson had wanted offices and he wanted this and wanted that. For Geno Smith to come in there and do what he did, I have a crazy stat for you. So over his 10 years, he won a career earning of $17 million.
Whoo! Over like the whole time he's played?
A whole time playing football
Crazy.
in the NFL. And now annually, he'll be bringing in 35 mil.
Life-changing. It's life-changing.
Life-changing. So what a crazy journey, for a top, not a top pick, but he was one of the top quarterbacks taken off the board with the Jets early on. And, playing with the Jets, like I mentioned, with the Raiders, just a disorganized, the bad franchise to play with, a lot of chaos going on outside of the building, playing in New York. We see with Jett Wilson now, it's not easy. So if you're going to come in here and you're going to struggle, you're going to hear from the media. It's the biggest media, you can see in New York. So being in the media market of the world for Geno Smith, it just didn't work out. And, everyone had him on this career
trajectory. Did he get punched
by
one of his teammates? You remember that?
I remember hearing it.
Yeah, one of his teammates broke his jaw. Shit was crazy. I was like,
so Geno Smith has had a career, man. Everyone wrote him off as the backup, and like he mentioned, man, I didn't write back. So it's great to see. It's a great story. What's going to play out for the Seahawks now that they have a quarterback, like Toddy mentioned? Are they still going to draft a quarterback?
I'm ecstatic he signed this contract.
Of course you are.
I'm happy.
So are they going to bring another quarterback? Are they going to reload and trade back? They have 2 first-round picks, Toddy. They can make some shit shake. They can make some shit shake. I'm just going to leave it at that. What do you think
that they do? They draft what? They need help on the defensive side.
Dude, they can.
They got receivers. They got a cool
running. They can stay 5.
Terrible.
Dude, another hot take. I think Jalen Carter's going to fall to him at 5 if they don't trade it.
Damn, Jalen Carter. Yeah.
And imagine dealing with that for the next.
How far is he going to – and that's kind of a guy that Pete Carroll, character issue type deal. Jalen Carter is arguably could go number 1. He could go number 1 to the Bears. But, obviously, the whole shebang of them getting, racing and the deal with, one of his teammates, God rest his soul, that passed away during the incident. He said that he wasn't there, but he was. And, he goes to jail and then comes back from the bonded out. He left the combine, bonded out, came back to the combine. Like, I'm back. It's insane. So, yeah, that'd be, I could see that happening. Jalen Carter going to he's a D tackle though, right? Or is he a D?
D tackle.
Yeah.
Or, they can trade the 2 picks and, pull off an AJ Brown move. They can bring in another guy along. Tyler Lockett's on his way out. DK, and you go get another guy over there. You got Kenneth Walker. Or they can continue to revamp the offensive line. There's a lot the countless options that they can.
Geno Smith is their quarterback. That's just it goes back to that. Geno is very limited as a quarterback.
Better than Brock Purdy. But we have another day one guy. Wes is coming with another comment talking about he wants us to talk about Eric Kendricks, and he wants to talk about the Vikings
getting released. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Day one, man. Love, like you mentioned with the Rams releasing Bobby Wagner, man. This is a business. I don't care what you did years ago. I want to know what you did from yesterday. So
where does he go? I wouldn't. He probably could go. I think
Wes is a Vikings fan, so we feel some kind of way. But dude, it's cool. He can go be
I think he's a top.
No, he's good. I'm just talking shit. He's a really good linebacker, so he can go somewhere and change the momentum of that team's defense. But I just love what giving Wes shit.
Niners don't need him. I mean, you could argue the Eagles could get him. I mean, I'd say that's the weakest part of your guys' defense. If you think about it, you guys got
Nakobe Dean. You know who that is?
Great. You have great DBs and you have a great D line. I'd say that's the weakest part of your.
Yeah, Wes said that's crazy. That's we need him.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's what he was responding to.
What is that? You don't need him. I'm saying you guys would take a gander at him. I'm thinking you guys are looking at everybody, right?
You gotta be a different kind of breed come playing Philly, dog.
Oh, okay.
But talking about different breeds coming into Philly, man, we might as well go on to it. Like Toddy mentioned, he suspects that the Eagles only lost because of the quarterback situation with the Niners. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Brock Purdy is set to have UCL surgery on Friday. I'll let you really take over this, Toddy. I just have one thing to say, man. When he closes his eyes every night, he sees Hassan Reddick.
Okay.
So go ahead, Toddy. What are your thoughts?
This whole situation has been weird of, Brock and the swelling of his elbow. And when it's been about a month since the NFC Championship game, and he still hasn't had surgery. So it just keeps pushing back the timeline of when he's supposed to be able to actually have the surgery. And then his healing process starts. So everything aligning, if he were to get surgery, what did you say? It was Wednesday or Friday? Friday is supposed to have it. The 6-month journey kind of carries over into the season, which is I think September 1st or 6th or whatever it is. And everything kind of just that is him missing OTAs, training camp, and then everything preseason leading up to the actual season starts. So that gives Trey Lance kind of, he's getting all the first team reps pretty much. And this was kind of the hand that he was kind of dealt last year of him being able to take all of the first team reps and him being able to kind of just get in where he fits in now. So the keys are kind of weirdly being handed back to him, and he's kind of just been on his grind. He was another quarterback that shattered his ankle this year, and the season would have been him. This would have been his season, kind of just being able to figure out what he is as a quarterback, and we really don't know what he is as a player. And there's so many guys that want to give up on him, including Niner fans saying that, all right, this is Trey Lance, let's trade him to the Titans because Rand Carthen is a guy that was in the building. He's going to trade for him. So for people saying that we're just going to trade Trey Lance and get rid of him, and Brock Purdy's the guy. Brock Purdy's going to be hurt, so we need a quarterback for the time being. And Jimmy G is gone. We rode that wave as much as we could, and your services are no longer needed here. I think, and it's not anything like that. Like Jimmy is, he's been great to his organization, but I think like that ship is sailed. We have to rely on a guy that is injured all the time. But that's a lot saying now, because it's always weird because the 49ers quarterbacks are always getting hurt. And there's no really rhyme, reason, or way to kind of put a button on why this keeps happening. Because, when you don't have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game, you can't do anything. You can't even throw the ball. You just got to run the ball 56 times. So, I'm kind of just going on a tangent here. But, you just would like to see quarterbacks stay healthy, because that is the reason why the Niners traded 3 first-round picks for this guy. And you just want to see him play. We haven't really seen him. He's only played, I think, like 3-4 games, and it's not really too much to take from it because, so many people are kind of just jumping on him and saying, oh, yeah, he's this, that, and the third. Well, what was freaking Josh Allen in his 4th start ever? He was freaking dog shit. It took him a little bit. It took him 2 years for him to even get where he needs to be. Look at fucking Jalen Hurts' 4th start ever in life and see how good he actually was. So I just think it just takes a little bit of time. You got to give him time to develop and let him play in these games and kind of let him fill them out for himself. So obviously, Brock being hurt. If Brock wasn't hurt, I think he's probably the QB1 going into training camp next year, and Trey and Brock kind of just battle it out in training camp. Brock would be getting all the first team reps, but obviously due to injury, he's not able to do that. So Trey Lance, it's kind of your time to shine, buddy.
But yeah, man, like you mentioned, you want to know, how to stop this problem. If Coach of the Year, Kyle Shanahan, who's been to the NFC Championship multiple times, didn't want to put a third string tight end on the arguably dark horse player, the defensive player of the year, Hassan Reddick. Not only did he do it once, but he did it twice. So we can figure out that problem. But we have another. Call. It was a bad call. So Uncle Manny has a question for you, Toddy. For all audio-only listeners, he asked, do the 49ers sign a veteran quarterback? And he said, like, Baker Mayfield?
Quarterbacks get hurt. Our quarterbacks are hurt. They always get hurt. And it showed. We had a 4th string. Even the 4th string went down. So we're looking at everybody. I even saw a report today that Phillip Rivers called the Niners like, hey, what you guys need a quarterback? What's going on? I'll come back. I'll leave my high school and come back wherever that you guys need me to do. So, I mean, we're looking at any and everybody, man. Especially we're probably gonna draft a QB. We're probably gonna draft a QB in 6th round, 7th round, or whatever. We need bodies. Okay. I'm not saying they're gonna freaking lead us to the NFC Championship like Brock Purdy did, but we just need bodies at the quarterback position because we are scarred from what happened in the NFC Championship game and not even having a guy available to be able to suit up and play. So we'll probably look into the QB market. I think Andy Dalton's a guy that they'll probably look at. Baker Mayfield's probably a guy that they'll look at.
James
Probably. I mean, shit. We're looking at anybody, man. backup quarterbacks it's coming at a premium for us. And I think that people will probably have to overpay for a third string / backup quarterback just to be in the QB room and be able to kind of, be that guy that's like, all right, hey, be the veteran in the locker room, because these guys are young. Trey Lance has been there, was second year. This is Brock Purdy's first year. Just to kind of be a guy in the room and just be available as a third body to just, be of service. So a backup quarterback is going to probably cost a lot more than what a backup quarterback usually is for a playoff team.
So I have to address one of our comments. The dude who forced us to stop what we were talking about, to talk Vikings and Eric Kendricks. Wes helped me to hop off a sound rag, man. You made us talk about Eric Kendricks. I'm trying to give the listeners what they want. They don't want to hear about Eric Kendricks and the fluky Vikings. They just don't want to hear about it. So moving on to the last basketball topic before we dive into some more football. You are listening to episode 18 of Stats or Politics. This is Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. So what are your thoughts on the new look Suns, Toddy?
Well, I mean, hey, Kevin Durant, you kind of just – you can place Kevin Durant on any team. He's going to give you – he's going to give you a solid 25, 27 a game. His first game as a Sun, he 23 in 29 minutes. So it looked very easy for him. As basketball pretty much does look for Kevin Durant. It looks easy for him whenever he's out there. And just now it's just giving D-Book all the looks. You saw the other night, 30 and 30. Book is getting whatever he wants, talking shit to Luka. Kevin Durant's getting whatever he wants. You would love to see, guys like Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton step the fuck up. But, they're kind of just trying to mold their way into it. And the Suns, they're climbing, man. I think they're fourth in the West. The Suns team is very top heavy. The bench is god awful. You would love to see a little bit more from Campaign, given that the thing he's getting a lot more opportunity now, just because of how big of a loss that the bench took when they got rid of Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. Those were those cornerstone pieces that were a part of the team. And now that Kevin Durant is on this team now, the light is going to be a little bit brighter on Cam Johnson, because he's the leader of the second unit now. He's going to have to be able to fill those voids. We've seen him play well in the playoffs. I think even the finals, he had a couple of good games in that Bucks series. So I don't think he's not capable of doing it. It's just, we're going to see it. We're going to have to see it a little bit more now. I think the best solution now is you got to leave one of those guys in, whether it's Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. I think one of those guys just has to be in the game at all times, because those are their scorers, and that's kind of what they're going to rely on. I don't think there's going to be a time where one of those guys isn't on the floor. They're probably both going to be they're going to end games together. For surely. But I think kind of when it comes down to it, it's going to be those two, or at least one of them are going to be on the floor at one time. Unless DeAndre Ayton wants to kind of step up, then we might see, both guys being off the floor. And it could be just Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton on the floor versus having, Kevin Durant and everybody else, or Devin Booker and everybody else on the floor. The Suns team looks good. They're scary. I don't think anybody wants to play them in the playoffs, especially in round one.
Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned, the 30 for 30 game for both of them going in. I saw a crazy stat. The last time Kevin Durant sat that many minutes in the fourth quarter when they blew out the Bulls was with the Warriors. So this team is rolling, man. And for them to come out 3-0, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they were had some injuries they had to deal with, but now that they're rolling, Devin Booker's averaging 36, 8 assists, 5 rebounds since Kevin Durant's been there, shooting 50% from the field and 50% from three. KD in a Suns jersey, 27, 4 assists, 8 rebounds, shooting 69% from the field and 53 from three. Like you mentioned, this is the team of many magicians, and it's like you mentioned, it's going to come down to the minutes with them off the court. Like you mentioned, DeAndre and the number one pick. It's time to start playing like it. You have a third role. A lot of number one picks don't get to eventually have a third role. You draft him to be that number one guy, but he got, you don't get Kevin Durant every day. So for them to get Kevin Durant and to keep rolling, I think this seems to be very scary. And I have another hot take. I would love to see the Suns play the Warriors in the first round and KD send them packing. KD started the dynasty.
Take, I don't think that's a hot take. A lot of people are, they think he didn't end the dynasty. They won a championship last year, Kevin.
But if they had lost in the first round, that doesn't end it. Draymond's not coming back. This would be the end. He would rip it up. This would be the end. He built it and tore it apart.
They won a championship without him before he came, and then they won one last year without him. It's not crazy that the Suns beat. Would the Suns have home court? I think they would as of right now.
It don't matter.
They're the 4 or 5 matchup. So, no, yeah, man, I would lean Phoenix in that series, and a lot of people don't think that just based off of just pure chemistry. The Warriors have done it before. Playoff Clay and Jordan Poole and all those guys. They're just basing it off of experience and the Warriors being who they are. I just think it's on a talent perspective, the Suns have the better team. As far as talent goes, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, those are like 2 top 10 players arguably in the league. And obviously the Warriors have the best shooting backcourt ever in the history of the game. But that'll be that game. That series will probably go 7. It'll probably go 7 games.
And get some of these comments, man. Uncle Manny said that'd be awesome. I agree with you, Uncle Manny. To see Kevin Durant put together the dynasty and then tear it apart would be crazy storybook. And Uncle Manny coming again, showing some love to Kevin and Jaevon, saying we're doing great. He being down without Gary and Shaun, man. Todd and I have done one of these episodes before. We're just steadily improving, just trying to figure out, how to make sure every Monday we're going to be here for you guys at 7:00. So we definitely miss our guys, but the show must go on. So moving back to some football. We're now, unfortunately, we have to talk about the Cowgirls and then franchise tagging Tony Pollard. Coming off a broken ankle. A lot of people say, Toddy, I might be one of them, I might not be. If Tony Pollard doesn't go out, they might beat you guys. I'm not saying I said it. But what are your thoughts on Tony Pollard being franchise tagged?
Tony Pollard, tremendous season. He was the running back that got in over Christian McCaffrey, and I wasn't too fond of that, but he did have a great season as far as the numbers go. I think that, this is kind of a highlight on the Zeke situation, the amount of money that he's getting, versus it's just crazy that they're franchise tagging another running back that's not Zeke, a guy who they already have under contract. So by them tagging Tony Pollard, they will be losing a guy in Dalton Schultz, who is, I believe, a very solid tight end, and he's going to probably test free agency and get his money elsewhere. But I think Tony Pollard tagging a guy that's hurt and is probably going to going against or going into the season and just him probably not being available to play, and Zeke is going to be your featured back. And you're going to have to rely on him a lot more. So, just the year that he had, I think it kind of just warranted him. The Dallas Cowboys probably think that they owed it to him a little bit. Like, all right, based off of the year that you had, we're going to franchise tag you. And he probably want a long-term deal. But, given his injury, it didn't help that he got injured. And usually running backs don't really get a second contract just based off of the, the brute force that they
bangs
take. And then, so, you don't really see that as far as guys getting a second contract as a running back, unless you're probably Derrick Henry. So Uncle Manny, he already said $10 million is the tag for running backs. What was it? Josh Jacobs is a guy who wanted a long-term deal and probably wanted to get paid in the $15, maybe $12 million range. I think Saquon Barkley is a guy that's probably going to get franchise tagged. But he's a guy that you would want to get him in the probably $15 million range. And that's a lot for a running back. I think Zeke is getting like $16 million, which is insane. And they kind of just use him as a power back now based off of,
a fullback.
Yeah, they kind of use him as a fullback now. So, not mad at this. It was kind of either going to be Dalton Schultz or Tony Pollard. I wouldn't have been mad at either or. Just based off of the year that Tony Pollard had, him being a Pro Bowler, having a Pro Bowl-like season, it was kind of made for him to get the franchise tag there.
Yeah, another comment from Uncle Manny, the $10 million tag for a running back is cheap. Like you mentioned, Saquon Barkley, is he going to get tagged or they're going to pay him that $15 million a year? Running backs, like you mentioned, don't get that second contract or the contact they're running through. You're getting hit every time you touch it. But I think the Cowgirls had to do it. If with all the rumors of them going to release Zeke to kind of get that cap and get that money, they're gonna need someone to run the ball. It's gonna be interesting. Everyone said he was the electric back. Everyone said it was a poor man's smash and dash.
Wasn't he the last? He was like the last running back to go in the top 5. He went like 4th.
Yeah. So Tony Pollard's gonna be that guy. I'm a huge fan of Tony Pollard. I just wish he wasn't playing for the Cowgirls. But Pro Bowl. Not everyone could say that their running back had a Pro Bowl season.
By the way, for the people that you said, the guys that said if Tony Pollard if he was healthy and this, then the third, he had 6 attempts for 22 yards in that game. So I just want to put that out there.
It was just starting.
I just want to put that out there. That was when, those were his stats before he got hurt. So you can take that as you may.
So while we're talking about running backs, let's mention the rushing leader, the Las Vegas Raiders franchise tag, Josh Jacobs. What are your thoughts on that, Toddy?
Well, I mean, if the Raiders were not going to bring back Derek Carr, you're not going to lose arguably the guy with the best season last year as far as running backs go. So, you had to tag Josh Jacobs. He was like going on, podcasts saying if they want me back, they got to pay me like handsomely or something like that. So,
it's a bet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to give you the tag. So, I'm not sure if this is what he wanted. He probably, most running backs want a long-term deal where they get paid, the $15 million. This is just, just going back to running backs, a guy that, Le'Veon Bell, who was a guy that never really wanted to play on the franchise tag because he knew that his worth was way more. And he was always kind of in that conversation of being, the top back in the league when he was playing. And then when he finally signed with the New York Jets, kind of where, Kev likes to say where dreams go to die. So when he signed a long-term deal with the Jets, and you never really kind of saw the same guy there. And, injuries usually take a toll on running backs. And that's why teams are kind of scared to give them a long-term deal because, what are you going to be in 3 to 4 to 5 years down the road? So usually running back guys age fast, and all of a sudden you're 28, you're old as a running back. You're taking all these hits, this, that, and the third. So just going back to another guy, Todd Gurley, he's kind of a guy that kind of fell off the face of the earth. He was a guy that was, killing the game as far as, running the ball, catching the ball at the backfield, dominating the league. And then, he kind of blew his knee out and, we never really saw too much from him then. And that's kind of just usually how it goes when it comes to running backs. So Zeke, getting or Josh Jacobs getting tagged by the Raiders, I'm not really surprised. He's the best. He was the best running back in the league last year. So the Raiders are kind of just delaying giving him another contract. So if Josh Jacobs can stay consistent, who's a guy who's had injury history in the past. I know a lot of Raider fans that are like, damn, Josh Jacobs is a dog, but we just need him to be on the field. And I think he played the most games that he's played in a recent memory. So Josh Jacobs, if he can stay healthy, he'll probably get a long-term contract. I think there's only a certain amount of times a team can tag you. So he's got to play on the tag for this year, I guess.
Yeah, man. Josh Jacobs had a phenomenal season. I was tuning to Josh Jacobs from game 1 to game 17. My wife had him on fantasy. So when Josh Jacobs started turning up, man, I heard it every Sunday. Every Sunday, every Monday, every Thursday, it was always the Josh Jacobs show. She had Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, so it was a lot of Raider football. A lot of Raider football in the Denton household. So Josh Jacobs has a bright future, and like you mentioned, they're just
you got that Sunday ticket.
Oh yeah, they're just annoying the inevitable, man. You're gonna have to pay him.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what he does with New Year. They're not gonna have Derek Carr at quarterback, so they're gonna see Mike McDaniel in year 2. So we're gonna see what they can pull off, man. But while we're on the topic of Alabama running backs, we gotta talk about the King. Titans put Derrick Henry on the trade block. And Toddy, I'm going to go out here and start it first because I know you're going to run off on a tangent talking about the Eagles are going to try to get him and this and that. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, man, talking about how he needs to get on the phone and bring in Derrick Henry. We already got A.J. Brown. We might as well. We're already good business
You're
deals.
losing Booby.
We're already business partners with the Titans. We might as well do it. Hard pass. He's 29 years old and is due $10.1 million next season. We already having to cut ties with guys that we don't want to because of money, like you mentioned with Booby, Miles Sanders. So Derrick Henry is the last guy I want to see come in. Unless guarantees me 15 games and 1,700 yards, it ain't happening, dog. You can go run downhill somewhere else, and we're not going to run the ball 40 times. Yeah. AJ Brown already mentioned how he hated playing in that system.
Hey,
why would we bring the thing he hated with him? So Derrick Henry is going to be a hot topic on the market for sure. Arguably one of the best running backs in the league. He's been getting hurt a couple years, but he is the king for a reason. So Toddy, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's just, Rand Carthen is kind of just like, all right, you're not the guy that I signed to this team, and I'm just going to blow everything up. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything about Ryan Tannehill not getting released or cut or whatever the hell is going on.
He already don't want to mentor Malik.
So, the Titans are kind of just cleaning house now, getting rid of any and everybody. They got rid of Taylor Lewan last week. They got rid of who was it? The Robert Woods got rid of him. I think there was another. I think they're releasing Bud Dupree too, who's a pretty good defensive lineman. They're getting rid of everybody. They're trying to get rid of Derrick Henry. I would not be shocked if the Titans try to get into the top 5 range.
No, you're not trading the top 5 pick for Derrick Henry.
Hey, Derrick Henry. I'm not saying that.
Seattle?
Hey, we're talking. They just signed a quarterback. They got a $100 million man over there. So I'm not saying that, especially with a guy like Derrick Henry. For audio-only listeners, Uncle Manny was talking about. I hate when teams run the running backs into the ground and not pay them. Kind of just squeeze every little bit of life out of them and pay them as little as possible. So it's kind of just like, they're cleaning house right now. But for what? They got to be making a move, some type of move in the draft, or if they're just going to tank this year and get the guy next year.
They had Malik Willis still need a quarterback.
Malik Willis, yeah, Kevin couldn't say that with a straight face. What he saw from Malik Willis, the way that he was running around, didn't know what the hell was going on. It looked bad whenever Malik Willis got into the game. He was a deer in headlights. It was just like he didn't know what the hell was going on. But as far as landing spots for Derrick Henry, a team that I mentioned to Kevin was the Chiefs. The Chiefs could work. They run a pro-style offense. I don't think that the Eagles would really be the way that their offense is set up. It doesn't really match Derrick Henry's run style. Just him being out of the shotgun, running those zone reads out of the gun. I don't think is really his style. You could put him with the Ravens, maybe. That would be more there. That would be a place like, hey, I got you, Derrick Henry. Let's stay here. The Niners don't really need him. We don't really need a running back. We got Christian McCaffrey, obviously. I don't really know, just off the top of my head, of places that he could go. I mean, the Bills could be a place that he could go. Just them not having a running game and them being in Buffalo, being able to have Derrick Henry and take time off the clock and take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands would be pretty crazy. Another team you could kind of think about Miami maybe. Don't really know. I mean, the Kyle Shanahan system is technically in Miami with a Mike McDaniel. That zone running scheme could work out for him. It can open up a lot of doors for Derrick Henry. Just don't really know too much about the quarterback situation, but those are some pretty cool places that I kind of just came up with off the top of my head. KC, the Ravens,
Miami, Buffalo,
and Miami and Buffalo. Those are some cool places. So watch out for those teams. Don't be shocked if he goes to one of those teams. You heard it first in Stats Over Politics.
There you go. Stats Over Politics, episode 18. This is where you heard it. Don't forget it. So probably the most talked about, anticipated move besides Aaron Rodgers, which we have every summer, we have the question: what are the Ravens doing with Lamar? So with the franchise tag, they have two options. They can give him the non-exclusive tag, which would pay him $33 million next year, or they can do the exclusive tag, which
less
would be
than Geno Smith.
Yeah. Or they can do the exclusive tag, which would exceed $45 million, and that would put him around fifth from a yearly average. But the twist to that, with the exclusive tag, teams can make a bid at him and offer 2 first-round picks for his services.
45.
So
that's the exclusive tag, or is that
30? That's the exclusive tag. The non-exclusive is 32, but with the non-exclusive, other teams would come talk to him. So it's either you pay him more or you pay him less, and you have the risk of losing them for 2 first-round picks. That's hammer to the nail. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be 2 first-round picks.
You got to get in the door. You got to at least have 2 first. Yep.
So,
hey,
what are your thoughts?
There's just been so much speculation of, Lamar, him not wanting to play, but the injury that he had, I guess it was diagnosed wrong or whatever. It was like the wrong injury, and he was a guy that was kind of like, all right, like I want to play, but I can't. I'm hurt. So people are arguing, is it the Kawhi effect? Is he really hurt? Does he want to come back? I think Lamar wants to come back, but for the right price. If you're going to try and offer him, like we named the numbers, Geno Smith is getting at least 35 a year. And if you're going to put him on, the regular tag, that's kind of the same type of deal that a Daniel Jones is going to get. The Giants are kind of considering tagging Daniel Jones. So if you look at the talent level that's around that $32 million range, it's nowhere near where Lamar is. Lamar's been an MVP and won playoff games.
Preach.
So, I mean, what's wrong with giving Lamar Jackson a long-term deal? Give him a guaranteed deal. I think he's put up Deshaun Watson. Let's just go off. Deshaun Watson has won playoff games. He's been up in the playoffs against Patrick Mahomes. I think it was 3 touchdowns in the playoffs. Once upon a time in Houston, and we kind of know how that went. Lamar's never been a guy that's had problems off of the field. He's won you games. It's really tough to deal with things like this. But at the same time, I think a guaranteed deal for a guy like a Lamar who has top 5 ability, it's kind of just like a why not. You get rid of Lamar Jackson, where are the Ravens now? They're a pedestrian team with a mediocre defense, that really can't get you anywhere. Now, the argument that the Ravens could have is, hey, we had a chance to get into the playoffs without you, and we could have won a playoff game without you with Tyler Huntley if he wouldn't have tried to go over the top with the whole fumble situation. So that could be the thing, and you can see what it would be like without Lamar Jackson being in the picture. And I think life is not as green as it is on the other side. So I think the Ravens need to at least give him the exclusive tag. And if you don't want to pay him, that's fine. And kind of just let him. It's tough, man. I think, but at the same time, something in the back of my head is telling me Lamar is gonna walk, and they're gonna do some dumb shit and say, all right, we'll get you on the regular tag, and we'll let teams offer you and try to match it there, and then he'll fuck around and leave for nothing. And the Ravens like, damn. The end of the Lamar era is over. So,
like Uncle Manny mentioned, man, in the comments, the Deshaun Watson deal messed everything up. I think they're gonna have to give him the more expensive tag, because you can't risk losing Lamar for 2 firsts. You can tag him and trade him and get 3, 4 firsts. So if the end goal is to trade him, You sign him to the expensive tag, you take the cap hit, and you trade him. Or, you like Toddy mentioned, you lose them for nothing. Those 2 first-round picks, I guarantee you're not going to find another Lamar Jackson.
Probably not.
So they're going to be in quarterback purgatory if they lose them. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Ravens really play this and moving forward. With other news in the NFL, the Rams are also looking to put Jalen Ramsey on the trade block. And before I let Toddy get into it, I'm going to go ahead and give my best recruiting spiel.
Oh, my God.
So, Jalen, I know you're probably watching, man. Stats Over Politics, episode 18. I appreciate you tuning in, man. Come get a ring. Come get another ring, man. Come get another ring. I know you want to get paid, but look, man, Aiden Hutchinson had the same amount of picks as you. You ain't getting no blank check from us doing that. You come to Philly, play alongside Darius Slay, be his successor, take us to another bowl, another all-pro season.
He's DB1.
Hey,
he's
like
DB1.
I told Toddy, at training camp, we will put an empty check in his locker in a frame. Everything, and then at the end of the season, if he does his thing, hammer, boop, sign it. Howie will sign it and be like,
giving him 25.
Put whatever number you want. Blank check. We don't have the money. You want the truck stacked up? No, Ty, we're not paying him this year. Aiden Hutchinson had more picks than you. We're not giving you jack, but a jersey and a helmet. You got to come and show us that you are still the Jalen Ramsey of old. We look at Jalen Ramsey in such a way, but if Joe Burrow had 2 more seconds, we're looking at Jalen Ramsey a lot differently. So, but you know what? That's old. Let's leave the old with the old, man. Jalen Ramsey. Fly, Eagles, fly. Uncle Manny thinks this is a joke, man. I'm dead ass, Jalen. This is where you want to play.
$25 million.
It comes through the league. You don't got to travel in the playoffs. I know it's not LA, but it's the East Coast LA.
Yeah, it's
what are your thoughts on it, Toddy?
Look up. I want you to look up while I'm talking to cornerback, like the top corners who are getting paid right now. So as far as Jalen Ramsey, I think with the Rams, they're kind of just like, well, shit. Well, we don't have any picks this year. The next year, we need to start fucking around and getting some picks because, we can't have another year where, our top guy and Cooper Kupp goes out, our quarterbacks are for the rest of the year, and everything kind of just goes to shit. We're going to suck. And then we don't have any picks to recuperate everything that, we get back. So I think the Rams are kind of just like, you got to give me something. Give me a first, give me a second. Like they're kind of just starving for picks. So they might let him go for like a 2nd round pick.
We got a 3rd. We got 2 seconds.
I think they acquired him for 2 firsts. So maybe they try to get maybe a 1st and a 2nd for him.
We got 2 seconds for you, boy.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. The Rams just need picks in general because their team is getting old very fast and everyone's getting hurt. So Aaron Donald's already contemplated, retirement already, and Matt Stafford isn't getting any younger. So the team just needs to. And then freaking McVay was telling his coaching staff, "Hey man, I don't know if I'm coming back. You guys will go find you another job." So the Rams aren't all in, so they kind of just need to start, getting back to where they were and just hopefully, contend for the playoffs. So. As far as Jalen Ramsey destinations to go, obviously, I guess the Eagles are going to inquire about any and everybody.
We're not inquiring, dog.
Yeah, so there's that. I saw, I said the Chiefs. The Chiefs really aren't paying anybody besides Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Those are kind of the only guys that are really getting big money from them, so they would have the money to spend. I doubt the Rams would not trade him in division, so you can X that out. There are just places that he could go. An interesting team I would like to see him go is the Saints. Just given off of how good their defense is. They already have Marshawn Lattimore on the other side of the team. That would be a crazy. They probably have the best DB duo in the league. Probably
trying to be the Eagles, man.
If Jalen Ramsey goes to the Saints, another team to kind of look out for is. I jokingly said Houston just because they would have money to pay him, but I doubt he goes to a team that's probably not going to be a contender. You could argue he could go to the Patriots just based off of Bill Belichick and, just the way that he kind of just breeds DBs. The last one that we saw was JC. He got signed or JC Jackson. He got signed to Chargers, that big contract, but then he ended up going down. Yeah, Billy really doesn't pay DBs, but he does breed them. And then Stephon Gilmore was once upon a time a defensive player of the year. So I think that system is good for a type like Jalen Ramsey. So those are kind of teams that I would see that will probably inquire about him. But there could be other teams that we obviously think that kind of lay in the weeds, like the Eagles, maybe.
Not laying in the weeds, first in line, dog. First in line. Jalen, bring it on over. But you wanted me to look up the top contracts for corners. Top highest corner, we have Jair Alexander for the Packers at 31.1. We have JC Jackson for the Chargers at 28 mil.
28.
Marshawn Lattimore with the Saints for 24. Yeah. Derek Stingley Jr., 23.1.
I didn't know
Sauce,
the highest was
21. Yeah, Denzel 21, Xavier Howard 18, Darius Slay 16, Jalen Ramsey 15.
Oh, he thinks he's getting. You said number one is who was number one?
Jair at 31.
He's better than Jair.
Cut it out.
He's not better than Jair. You don't think Jalen Ramsey thinks that he's better than Jair?
Oh, he thinks it, but it's not.
And he's getting 31 and I'm getting 15. You're giving me 28, 27 million a year. That's where he thinks that he probably is going to be at.
He's not better than Sauce, bro.
No, probably not right now. No. I think Sauce is probably the best corner in the league right now.
So, man, it's going to be interesting to see what
Jalen Ramsey is getting at least 25 million in the open market. Y'all got 25 for him?
Next offseason, I'm telling you, I need All-Pro and bring me.
It's his last year of his contract now?
Yeah, he has 2 years left.
Oh, okay.
So bring me
this year? Okay, got you.
All-Pro, 7 picks. Hammer to the frame. Empty check. How he's going to go like this.
Trayvon should be up there. He's probably going to I think it's just that's an older market now. So I think Jair signed recently and got 31. So I think we'll probably see Trayvon get 30. They're damn near getting receiver money at this point. I think DBs are kind of up there as far as the highest paid positions in the league. So damn, I did not know Jair was getting 31 a year. That's crazy.
Yeah, he signed last year 4-year, 84 mil. Yeah. So Jalen, I know you're still tuned in, man.
25.
Hey, I'll give you 26, dog. All pro and 7 picks, dog. You can have whatever you want. We gonna have Slay off the books. So come on, man. Come on over. Rams
still gonna be there?
No, this is his last year. His last season under contract. So we'll see what he got next year. But hey, man,
you gotta give Slay some money too.
Hey, we can give Slay. He's gonna be a vet. We need a homie deal, dog. We got. Hey, I'm telling you, if we get on the other side, 7 picks, all pro. Hey, man, he's old. He ain't gonna go nowhere and get no money.
All right. You said he's a top corner.
I didn't say that about Slay.
He's not the top corner. Oh man, that's crazy.
We got 8 minutes left in the show, so we have to end it off with some more news. In breaking news, the Chiefs release Frank Clark.
Did they release him, or they're going to release him?
They're planning on releasing him. So I think he's probably one of the sack leaders for the postseason. So on this little dynasty playoff run they've had, they've been doing it, and Frank Clark's been doing his thing, man. As much as I came on here and disrespected him and saying the only person on that defense is Chris Jones.
Hey, man.
I was fooled wrong. And for the audio-only listeners, Toddy's doing his devious scheme. He's smiling. He's shaking his hands together. And I'm going to tell you what he's going to say, man. He's going to say, we restructured all this money. Come on over to the Niners. So, Toddy, I threw you a lob. Go ahead and slam it. Let me hear it.
Hey, this is where, we breed D linemen over here. Charles Amena, who came in and had, his career was kind of on the down path in Houston. Came on over to the Niners, and now, he's gonna probably get some money in free agency. We had Arden Key over there; he got some money in free agency in Jacksonville. So it's only right, man. I'm kind of shocked that Frank Clark is getting released is going to get released by the Chiefs. Cap casualty. I think he's one of the better defensive linemen in the league. It's only right, man. Come play with Nick Bosa. I almost said his brother. Eric Armstead. We need another guy, and there are some very interesting guys that are going to be out there in free agency on the defensive line, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners sign this guy because Frank Clark is an asset on the defensive line, and the Niners usually pride themselves on having one of the top defensive lines in the entire league, and I think they've had that for the past couple of seasons. I think Frank Clark is I think he's a two-time Super Bowl champion now, and he makes big plays in big time moments. So he's going to be a guy. I think he's a little older now, but I think he's going to get on. He's going to hit the open market, and he's going to get paid pretty handsomely, I believe. I just think him being a cap casualty, the Chiefs are like, we're trying to get younger and younger by the second because we won with all these rookies with Patty Mahomes, and him just being a cap casualty. There's like, damn, this is a number that we don't want to really pay next year, and so we're probably just going to cut you there. So they're not cutting Frank Clark because he's trash. It's because of the money and how everything is kind of structured, and the way that the Chiefs are set up, they kind of want to go in a different direction. So Frank Clark's going to hit the open market, and he's going to get picked up pretty quickly.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see. So just closing out here, you guys are listening to Stats Over Politics, episode 18 with Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Toddy, we got a few minutes left, man. Is there anything you want to get off your chest?
Just free agency in general. I'm just really excited to see, we saw Derek Carr, the Jets were saying, you could be a Hall of Famer with us, man. The thing they were saying about Derek Carr was insane, bro. And then, they struck out there. So Derek Carr is kind of the first domino to fall as far as quarterbacks go. So now all roads kind of like, all right, now where's Aaron Rodgers going to go? So, he's back from his darkness retreat. We don't really know. He hasn't really talked. Gutekunst at the combine was like, I ain't talked to the guy, since, I guess the season ended. So don't really know what the communication type deal is there. Is he going to go to the Jets? I'm not so sure that he is, but I mean, it could make sense. It kind of is like all roads are leading there. But it's not like they're trading him in division to the Bears. He's going to the AFC, and he's going to be playing against, Josh Allen twice a year and Bill Belichick twice a year. So it's not like the Packers are losing. They already have a quarterback on deck ready in Jordan Love. I think who can play, I think, in my opinion. So now we're kind of wondering where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. I think I saw another report saying that y'all got to pay some of this $56 million a year. Like, we ain't finna pay this. We're not going to pay this whole contract for the remainder of the year. So if we trade him, y'all going to give us these picks, and you got to
pay some of his money.
And pay some of this money. So, so a lot of things are kind of coming in about that and what the Packers are. I mean, the Packers are never really a team that like, oh, this guy went to the Packers in free agency. You don't really see that too much. So the Packers are really focused on the draft and kind of seeing where Aaron Rodgers is going to be next season.
Yeah, man. So this is Stats Over Politics, episode 18. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. So for all of you guys that have been locked in, you guys know that my birthday's in 2 days. If you guys want to do something for Kev's birthday, man, show us some love on social media.
Like
leave us a review.
You guys know that my birthday
hey, man, day one's only, man. Lock in, leave us a subscription, thumbs up, help out with the algorithm, man. And, we're trying to blow up.
Jersey.
Anyway,
send my North Carolina jersey.
I don't want none of that. None of that at all.
Yeah.
So this was Stats Over Politics, episode 18. Jaevon Toddy are signing off. See you guys next Monday.